right, so
Oh my god. Are the microphones hooked up? Are the mic hooked up? This is Alpha Male Jack and Faggot Nate is with his headphones. Letting everybody know that he is loud, he is proud, he is queer. So it was on a couch like this that you first discovered you were gay, right, Nate?
It was actually in the crib.
I thought it was a couch where someone was interviewing you and you were going to make a bunch of money, you know, if you were willing to do stuff on camera.
Is this somebody?
Yeah,
is
no.
someone here already?
No, you know what? Okay. Oh, I forgot about this guy. This guy doesn't exist. He's not real. I've called him outside. I don't even know who the fuck he is. I don't know who the fuck you are.
I mean, that might be
okay.
us.
No, he left. No, I don't know. No. It goes and comes back. It goes and comes back, and I'm still alive. No, dude, I don't know, dude. It's the Russians or some shit. Like it's triggering me, man. I know. He's gone. We're not going to talk about him anymore. Here, you, her, it, whatever the fuck you are, you fat pervert, sitting there in the dark trying to play mind games on me because I'm not famous yet.
Yo,
like I'm some kind of fucking dork.
I don't think the mics are hooked up here.
Why do you? Yeah, because they're very low volume.
Yeah, and I
don't know how to do
the
mic. No.
Well,
edit, maybe edit. Go to edit.
Where's that? Okay.
Edit right there, buddy. Microphone.
Customization. No.
So is it set to the laptop? I bet it's set to the laptop right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I could just do broadly, like what is the audio recording thing? Sound. That's probably not it.
Input level, bitch.
Input is Rodecaster here. So should that be it?
Yeah, is that the microphones?
Check.
No, it should be no, I guess not.
Yeah, this is the microphone. The Roadcast is this one.
Okay, so that's what the computer's hooked up to. Then we need to go back to the YouTube. This is fascinating, guys. You know what? I think like it's moving. It's moving. It's like you can hear me, right?
Try it back here.
Well, no. Why do you need to talk that low?
Because it won't hear me on there, but it can hear me in here.
No, it can't hear you in there because you're just whispering like a little bit.
No, if I get really close, it can hear me.
Okay, you know what? I say we're live, dude. Let's just fuck it, dude. Okay, well, hey, dude, he's back. He's fucking back, dude. What the fuck, dude?
Show us your tits.
Yeah, dude. No, I'm not gonna show you. He wants to see our tits, dude. I bet he's a pervert and wants to see my nipples, dude.
Then I better give him what he wants.
Shit,
anything
dude,
for the fucking
this.
dude.
Oh my god, we're girls and we're wild.
I wish I had
dude.
that freaking belly hair like you, bro.
You wish
I just got the fucking happy trail.
You're a little bitch, dude.
I used to, not anymore. Does that look like a shape, bro?
You lost all your fucking belly hair because you went all metrosexual when you were a kid and it never grew back.
I was a metrosexual for probably a couple years. It didn't help because I was like I wasn't getting pussy anyway, so I was like.
By metrosexual, I mean you sucked a dick on a couch like this.
No, that's homosexual.
So that's
a bit of a difference.
I guess is the American flag pants show that you transitioned from metrosexual to homosexual, or from homosexual to metrosexual?
Dude, you came in fucking. Now that we're on the live stream, you're coming in fucking hot for these ghosts out here.
I'm sorry, man.
Trying to take my fucking throne.
No, I'm because you're obviously bigger and stronger than me. It's all just subconscious fears that I have of myself for being weak and frail, like an 80-year-old man. I can't lift 80 pounds.
I mean,
I can't lift 80 pounds, dude. I saw a girl lift 80 pounds, like a 80-pound dumbbell. And I think it's because it was a fucking dumbbell. So you know what I can do? I can like lift dumbbells like on the left and the right hand, but in the center, I can't pick up something from the center and like lift it.
So is that something to do with the anatomy or?
Yeah, I think it's like because my legs are kind of crisscrossed together. I don't have a good center of gravity. Yeah.
So you've never described like what were you born with ailments?
So no, I have. I think the first time we did a podcast, I did. So I'll go again, man.
Maybe it wasn't interesting enough.
Well, yeah, it's not. I mean, it's basically just like a stroke or whatever when you're at birth. Like it's usually
you had a stroke, or
I guess like I've heard it's like very adjacent to a stroke in many ways. Like the injury, like from when you're born, like when you're very first born, because you're born very premature. Like my lungs weren't developed. I had to like live on a fucking respirator or whatever for a long time, like 3 months. Yeah. And cerebral palsy is just basically like a thing where the parts of the brain that connect to your legs and send those signals are fucked up. kind of.
Yeah.
So, and then that causes like muscle tightness and shit, like later in life.
Yeah, I think we did talk about this because I thought it was the same as what is the one
Bell's
where your
palsy?
Bell's palsy?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then
we did talk about that.
and then I did point out the historical fact that they stayed in the same cabin and shared the same blanket.
Oh, Bell's and
yeah, it actually goes back to homosexuality and and metrosexuality.
Well, so that's where I come in, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. See, if they didn't suck each other's dicks in that cabin back then
you would have been a track star.
But actually, maybe so. My dad was a track star.
Really?
Yeah, there's track stars, and like my dad's family was very athletic. I feel like you come from like a long line of football players.
Just my dad. He played football at Air Force Academy.
Oh shit!
You know Bill Parcells?
I've vaguely heard the name.
He coached the Giants in the Super Bowl in like the 90s.
Yeah,
like he was a coach for Air Force Academy when my dad was there, and he's just notorious for being like a hard ass, super aggressive.
Is he someone that your dad like looks up to, and he's like, Bill Parcells made me the man I am today?
I don't think so, because he played freshman year and then he like transferred after that, just like injuries and he didn't like the Air Force, too strict. I think he was kind of rebellious. And he also had bad eyes, so he couldn't fly. So he's like, I'm not going to stay in the Air Force Academy if I can't fly.
Oh man, so he didn't stay in the Air Force either?
No, he just did 1 year Air Force Academy. Then he went to Washington State University, which is just like a party school, and just fucking smoked cocaine and like became
back in the 80s. You didn't know it was bad for you, you know?
80s was, so my dad doesn't tell me a lot of stories, but every once in a while I'll get them from like his brothers or his cousins. And they were like, I kind of looked up to my dad. My dad like taught me discipline and how to be like a regular man. And then after I was already grown, I learned like, oh, he used to just ramble out at nights, just like smoke cocaine, get drunk, and just beat up other people. And like that was his idea of a good time. So I just had a complete misconception of who he was.
Is that really like I mean, maybe this says something about my life choices, but I can see that in a certain lens where that's really not very extreme to me. You know, like you like just like kind of liking the high of doing like an extreme drug and like, you know, that fucking up and like getting drunk and fucking shit. And like, you don't have a family or kids or any responsibility. And it's like, maybe I'll go out and see if I can kick somebody's ass, you know, like, I don't know, like that's maybe not like how they're making it sound. The last part is the one I'd have a big problem with. Like, I don't think that's
people's asses.
Yeah. Like,
it's more the opposite.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm like, so my dad didn't even really drink growing up. So the idea of being like, yeah, this guy barely drinks, to the idea that he used to smoke cocaine I felt like it was a pretty big leap for me.
Yeah, I understand that. Does that make you respect him more though, because he really changed to be a father?
I never thought about it like that, to be honest. Like he honestly did change a lot. I feel like more so my mom is kind of the saint that just like took on his sins and sort of like he just became whipped. He was like, all right, I need to like get my life together. Like I think he was my parents met on a ship in Alaska, like a crabbing boat. They both had summer jobs in Alaska. And my dad was partially there because he was getting sober from smoking coke. And so my mom kind of met him at his low point, and I feel like kind of helped recuperate him. No,
and I love that story because it's like people when they're at their low points are often at a point where like the best thing that happens to them is like, you know, is where that's where that starts. And like, that's why you're here. If he'd never been to that fucking low point of like, I'm some loser that's like smoked a bunch of cocaine and I got kicked out of the fucking Air Force Academy or couldn't make it. Like, yeah, you wouldn't be here. You know,
I mean, is that like, such a great thing though? I don't know if I really want to be alive anymore, dude.
I think so. I think it's the best thing. Hold on. We're going to chug beers real quick.
All right. Like, yeah, I got about 4/5 of it.
Yeah.
Let's get it. Let's get it going. Oh God.
Oh my God. Oh fuck.
I think you're supposed to keep it up when you chug.
I can't do that. I mean, I did it fast enough, you know.
Yeah, that was nice. We both finished.
Yeah, dude. I'm sorry. I was totally zoning out, dude.
You were in the zone. What are you talking about?
Oh my God.
But I do think like if you get together with your wife at your lowest point, that means like her expectation for you is so low that really like it sets the groundwork.
No, I don't believe that at all. I think that it also maybe is because she sees potential. I think that that's a lot of like what attracts women to men is this person needs me, and if like I have the right influence on them and I provide the right enough stability, they're going to be really successful. Like they kind of see themselves as the missing piece of what you need.
Preferably,
Like
yeah.
that's like, that's a part of like the nurturing aspect of it. Like I've always felt like the kind of like friends that were girls that I've had, that's kind of what attracted them to me.
The
Like
friends that were girls you got,
like,
so not girlfriends.
No,
like,
yeah, exactly. Like the times I've been friend zoned, like and like where, well, there's been like lots of times where women did try to sort of take me under their wing in certain ways, and like, like I think it's just because they like see like a bird with like a broken wing or some shit, like.
Yeah, I can imagine that like having a visible disability. I feel like you get judged immediately by pretty much everyone you've ever met.
No, I don't think so. I
You don't think that's true?
No, I don't. I don't think it really matters to people because it doesn't really matter to me. And like, I don't portray myself as someone who's handicapped. Like, like as soon as I start talking, like I'm just clearly like I'm not.
It's let's see. Here's another example. Someone like a giant bodybuilder. Like if I meet them, I'm like, oh, they're immediately this like physical threat to me. Versus I'm like, I see someone with a handicap. I'm like, oh, there's a different dynamic to it. So like you are aware of the dynamic, and I'm not saying that's the only thing that defines you, but it is like
I know that that's not what you're saying. Like, and I understand that like why you would think that. Like, I just don't feel that way. I don't think that. Like, I'd never think about it. Like if I never think about something, then I obviously don't think that people judge me for it. If I'm not thinking about it, I don't assume that they are either. Like, I just don't think it's really that big of a factor. I think that there is like a certain thing where, and I wonder if you feel this too, because I feel like this is something that like a lot of comedians probably deal with. Like I talked about like when I first signed up for the new apartment that I'm at now, like the lobby is like kind of like super chic and like the staff's pretty people, and it's like I don't fit in with that crowd, and I wonder why. I think that partly is because maybe I walk with a limp, like maybe it's other things though. It's like thinking it's just that is not accurate, and I think it allows me to give myself a pass on things where I probably shouldn't give myself a pass. Like if I'm just assuming that people are judging me based on the way I walk and maybe not the fact that I talk too loud or I don't give a shit about my appearance or that my glasses are shitty or that my hair is all fucked up and messy. Like, I don't care if I look crazy. It's like that's really what they're judging, and it's like that like what you just said about like people judging me based on that, it's like that's always just going to be an excuse for yourself to not ever improve.
Oh yeah, I do realize how it's healthy for you to like not view yourself in that way. I was just thinking generally for like first impressions, people are very materialistic.
Yeah.
They're very much so like what they see directly in front of their eyes. So I feel like it is like a factor with meeting a lot of new people.
Well, I think I give good first impressions because of it. Actually, like people assume I'm really nice, and I am. I am like I feel like I am like a mostly nice person, but I'm not necessarily like completely the nice person that people might assume me to be. Like
they
like
think
I can be, like
they assume that handicapped people are nicer.
Yeah, of course. You've never heard that? Like yeah.
Not necessarily.
Like that you're a good person and like you're brave and all that shit. Like you're a nice, good person. How do you like? That's weird. You've never heard that? I don't even know what to like say to that. Like, I mean, good. Like, I guess like I'm saying I don't agree with it, and it's not as so good.
I think it is polarizing in a lot of ways, especially like
it's not like I am like so sick. It's not polarizing.
Well, you just said a stereotype that people are either nicer, and I'm saying I think they're either like nicer or more mean.
Sure, yeah.
Like you either get cynical or you're like, I'm going to overcome.
People are in the middle. Like, see that's the life. That's the life that sucks. Is in the middle, right? And there's something to be said about having the kind of life or the impression where people are really going to love you or hate you, be really nice or be really mean. And is it so much people's reactions or is it so much people forming their opinion before they really get to know somebody? But what I was really going to say here, buddy, and this is just like what I felt screaming in my soul. It's like, I have not had a hard life. I think that there is a lot of people who form their personalities based on traumas that they have. And if
Mm.
you actually just extrapolate all the details that make someone who they are, like they're really not someone with a difficult life. Like I was watching a Vietnam documentary today, right? It was Ken Burns' Vietnam documentary, and it was showing like videos of Vietnam during that time, and people were just fucking starving to death. Like it just showed like starving Vietnamese people, and it's like that's their fucking life. And it's like you, I'm not saying that you can just completely like write off what you have. Like your issues might be real to a certain extent, right? And like you have to deal with them. They might be hurdles for you, but you are not unlucky. You are not unprivileged. You are not someone who's had a hard life.
I think that's relative. You see a lot of like middle class people whose lives are fine, but they just don't have any purpose and they kill themselves. Versus like in lower class communities, the suicide rates are much lower because people,
Yeah.
although you're like, I'm hungry, I'm struggling, they have like something to aspire towards or like to do.
Yeah, and they have to depend on each other.
So I think there's multiple levels. You have like physical trauma or like issues. You also have like how you perceive the world, like depression, anxiety. Like you could be living in hell, and from the exterior, like things are fine. I think so. I don't think like
Yeah.
comparing trauma of
Yeah.
any sort is like not really like smart to do. I would say, or
Yeah, like I think like people sometimes hide it, but do you feel like people hide it too much or they don't hide it enough? I feel like that's sort of like a signifier between millennials and Gen Z. Like the younger generation, I feel is a little bit more like on board with like this is my
let's
trauma.
talk it out.
Yeah, like you
express it.
know, and like millennials kind of like a little bit more reserved on that shit.
Well, from a personal experience, like I had crippling anxiety for a while, and then my solution to it was to stop listening to those paranoid voices in my head, and like that was what got me through, was just pushing it down. Literally that saying of like the old fashioned mentality of just like you hear these voices, just push it down.
Did you experience a tragedy when you were younger that like made you all high strung and shit?
I just always been incredibly socially anxious and like I don't know, trapped in my own head. I guess my trauma was after like it didn't start getting bad until after high school when I was in like a pretty toxic relationship and I didn't really know where I was going with my life. And then I joined the military, my first time like living away from home and kind of just like being sincerely lost in my life without any purpose or direction. Like that was kind of the root of everything.
That's one thing I like about getting older is like being able to like look back on those things and kind of understand like what you were going through at the time and really like what it was in response to, you know, like this is kind of like a bland way of looking at things, but I feel like it's like a true way of like being cause and effect, you know, it's like it's like I look at like really times of like turmoil in my life. Like there was a time where like I moved to Joplin to go to school and I was like in my early to mid 20s and I was spending a lot of time alone. And I was really just going through like a lot of like kind of depression and shit and like anger because of what happened to me when I was younger of just being kind of a loser, you know? And it's like I didn't like and I didn't even realize at the time like that's what I was doing, you know? And it's like, oh shit. And then you kind of like look back even further and it's like, oh, okay. Like, and that only comes with age, you know?
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
And then understanding comes with peace. Like with that girlfriend, like, have you gotten to a place where, especially because you found someone else, where it's like, okay, you know what? I can like look back and I can see your dad was an asshole and it's kind of easy.
She didn't have a dad, but
okay, see, that's it, you know, right there. Yeah. Yeah. It's like,
you know what something interesting about her?
What?
So this girl that I like lost my virginity to in my first kiss, everything like immediately after high school, she like hooked up with our chemistry teacher. He was like 33, she was 17. So it was like a statutory rape issue. And it was this big scandal of senior year of high school. And this guy ended up doing
this is before you dated her though.
Before I dated her, he went to prison for 2 years. And like while he was in prison, and just as she was like coming back to school after this, like we start kind of talking. And then I started dating this girl who was like fresh off of this breakup with a pedophile, basically. And that was my first initial idea of like love and and becoming intimate with someone. So I felt like in a lot of ways like that fucked me up.
That's crazy. Like that makes me like you, like, because you're not a judgmental person, right? Like, because did people know at the time that she fucked the teacher?
Yeah, like kind of everybody knew.
Like, was she like way out of your league, like top shelf? And it was like I'm barely at the top, you know, like, so it's like I got like a chance.
I'm still figuring shit out. Basically, she was like kind of in a popular group, but she was just in my class, and I was kind of like reluctant to talk to her. But like I think I talked to her through a mutual friend, and then as I got to know her, I was like, she's not so wrong. Like maybe other people are like misjudging or whatever. And I slowly started like judging her less and like ingratiating myself. But I didn't realize in hindsight that she did have a lot of like trauma that was like pushed onto me that I didn't really know how to deal with at the time. So it turned out ugly, but
yeah,
it's a weird thing.
It's one of those things where it's like I think back on like the traumatic relationships in my life, and I alternate on being really grateful for having gone through them, and then also thinking that it probably wasn't for the best. And I went through all, like that shit did have an effect on me in a not so positive way. Like one thing that I do that's bad is I just withdraw. Like I've spent so much time like not making friends, like spending a lot of time by myself. And sometimes I'm like just more introverted. Like, I'm not saying that's entirely a bad thing in and of itself. I'm not trying to be all negative, but it's like, I feel like I could be popular. I could be like, have a strong social standing. I could get laid, I could do all those things. And because of shit that happened to me, it's like, I don't do that. And that's partly other people's fault in a way. Right. It's like, okay, like, yeah, it's their fault. And it's like, fuck them, like I go through that phase, and then like, yeah, I just go through phases where I forgive those people and I don't know. Like I just reassess it a lot. That was just kind of rambly. I apologize. Hey, can I go grab a beer, babe?
Yeah, I was about to pee anyway, so we can.
Too. Yeah, 20 minutes is a good break, right? I've only had one beer. Oh, there's one. Okay, right on. Okay, so this is just my time with you guys alone. I want to say I'm a little bit sexually frustrated right now. I can't talk to Nate about it. It's personal. It involves a rash on my crotch. The thing about the rash on the crotch is you don't see it in your daily life. It's on your crotch, and you still know it's there. And that's what we have to deal with, metaphorically speaking, if we want to be successful and move forward in life, is our rashes on our crotches, metaphorically speaking. The thing that itches, that's there, that you don't see every day, but you know it's there because it itches. Scratch that itch. And this has been a word of wisdom from John Horner. Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess it's live. Like, I like, since I've gotten older, I've gotten into more boring shit, guys. And I really do appreciate the off moments where shit's live. And fuck. God damn it. I really appreciate the off moments where it's live and you can just kind of see the person who they really are, and can see like that moment of awkwardness, man. Like I was just appreciating, what I keep doing? I keep bopping it against my mouth like I'm sucking a dick, dude. And I've had that observation, like I need to stop doing that, And you know what I like, dude? I like that I'm not wearing headphones right now, and you're wearing headphones right now. I like that.
I like the audio processing in here. It just makes it sound so much cooler.
Yeah, no, you're right. But I like that, which shows our different personalities. It's like you're structured and I'm wild. You comb your hair. I don't comb. I don't even have fucking hair.
I have these fucking crazy ass pants on.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
no,
I'm pretty normal, regular guy.
I love those pants, dude. I'm not even fucking with you, dude. I need to get some America pants. I'm pro America, bro. Pro America. We're gonna talk about America. What's going on in America, bro?
We'll get there. Do you want to pee first?
Yes.
Y'all entertain the abyss for a little bit. So this is we haven't introduced. I have these pants on because this is supposed to be an American themed podcast today. I figure I think I'm more of an American than John. He was a liberal cuck. Yeah, honestly, I think if you want to be a true American, you gotta lean right. If you don't vote for Trump, you're not a true American. I do think it's kind of ironic that this fucking crippled liberal fuck is from Missouri, bumfuck Republican country. Meanwhile, I'm from Seattle area, all the fucking libtards up there, and yet, now here we are, me with the pants. I'm wearing the pants in this relationship, and he's talking about fucking like empathy and minority rights and shit. And I gotta say, let me preface this by saying I fucking served my goddamn country. I fucking served my country. Second of all, I don't know where we were going with this. Minority rights, sure, if you want them. But that's the thing about America. You got to go out. If you want something, you got to go out and take it. We're not just going to give you free fucking healthcare. This isn't goddamn Canada. That's the thing. America is about life. And life is not, it's not always good. It's not always bad, but it's alive. It's moving. It's fluctuating. People, you got to feel something. And that's what freedom is about. Freedom allows people to make mistakes and to make discoveries, and we can serve as an inspiration for the rest of the world because we're actually living this thing called life. The rest of these fucking communists, they got some greedy dude at top and they're telling everyone else to do shit. And even if you have this rebel, like they're too weak, they don't have the strength. The system is too overpowered to allow them to do anything significant. And I'm sure there was some civilians in communist Russia that were fucking doing their thing. But honestly, do I know that? I don't know if there were.
Were the Russians behind some crazy shit? So, by the way, you said you're more American than me.
Yep.
First of all, we need to address that real quick.
First of all, okay. I'm a veteran, so end the conversation there.
You're a military veteran. You're not a war veteran, right? You're not even a war veteran. Did you get deployed, dude?
Did you ever fucking go to basic military? I got gassed, bro. I got gassed in basic training.
Yeah, and you were all talking about, I don't even think we need to do that. I remember that. It actually made some practical sense, but you can't even use that as a point to make you more American. If you don't even think you should have gone through that, you don't get to take credit for it later.
What do you mean,
bro? Two, listen, here's why I'm more American. You're pro-capitalist, okay? That's the real distinction, okay? Like
you're gonna make me put the mask on.
People who are fucking Republican, right? Oh, you're a liberal cuck. No, okay. Republicans support late-stage capitalism and big banks and fucking corporations owning our goddamn fucking government and our economy, right?
So
and fucking over. And no, actually, no. Fascism would be okay. Fascism can be left-wing, right? A left-wing fascist state, I don't know. I'm just saying. But Republicans don't care about the country; they care about profit. And I think
Republicans care about the idea of the country and allowing the individual to make their own decisions instead of having Big Daddy tell everybody else what to do.
Okay, here's the problem with that, in my opinion. Okay, and again, I'm not explaining why you're wrong. I'm just explaining why I'm more American than you, right? Even if you're 85% American and I'm obviously 87 or 90% American, as I'm about to prove, okay, that's okay.
I'm a goddamn A+ American, bro. You don't give me A-
Let me
American.
Fucking dude. Let me fucking say what I was gonna say about America.
Tell me how liberals are pro-America.
Well, I'm not. I'm not talking about liberals. I'm talking about me.
Well,
you said that. No, you said that I'm a liberal. I'm explaining why I'm not one of those people. Not why those people are pro-America. Fuck you.
Well, you're saying you're not liberal.
Yes, no, I'm liberal, and I'll explain why liberalism's pro-America.
Why is that?
Because I think that like a social safety net that looks out for the poorest amongst us.
Europe. Let's become fucking Europe.
There's a line between Europe and America in the 1960s. I'm not even saying we need to become Denmark or the Netherlands or Sweden. I'm saying that even in our own country's history, not that long ago, there was a lot stronger of a social safety net. There was a higher tax rate, and it was more prosperous.
Well, what about what about the First Amendment, bro?
Okay.
Let's stop talking about the bullshit. Let's talk about number 1 and number 2. Those are the only things that matter. First and Second Amendment, bro.
That's fair. Okay.
Only country where we.
But here's why I want to I didn't, because I didn't actually say it out loud. Okay. Here's why being liberal, you can be liberal and pro-America. I understand this is what sort of makes me different from all the other liberals, but here's why that misconception is wrong.
It's not a liberal
position.
No.
Because like the things that help poor people create a strong social safety net and a higher tax bracket on the rich, fundamentally liberal ideas like that liberal structure of government, I think prolongs America and I think benefits America. And
America is not thinking about this is the American idea. It's like right now, do whatever the fuck right now. We're fucking shoot it straight to the vein.
No, I want America to stay prosperous.
Sustainability.
I want to
future, bro.
No, I want to talk about prosperity, dude. I want America to go into the future, right? And I think that I'm so pro-America that I think if you're an American, you're obligated to give back to the country that you were born in.
No,
I think it's fundamentally a patriotic. It's a patriotic notion. You're the one that's less America.
No, you serve. I think it aligns with Christian ideals. Like, well, individualism is kind of the through line that I see. Is like you fucking take care of business. You do what you think is right in your heart. And ultimately, if that is righteous, it's going to help other people. And you have the freedom granted to you by the government by not overly restricting you that allows you to be this, to live and fucking inspire other people to live. You know, like Evel Knievel, bro. That was one of the greatest Americans of all time.
Yeah, I love Evel Knievel. He is a badass. I want to be a middle. Yeah, I want to be like a middle Evel Knievel, dude. Like, yeah, I really want like a mental. Yeah, I want to be able to get on the motorcycle and jump and just go for it, like mentally. Like in my personality, like no, but like you know what I'm saying, like even moments like right now where there's
comedians do.
Yeah. Even like right now, it's like we're both saying something, you know.
It's dangerous.
Exactly.
That's what and liberals are not about being dangerous. We gotta have the social safety net. Name 3 things that are dangerous about liberalism besides the fact that it's gonna like ultimately restrict everyone and slowly kill us until the AI.
Like, okay, do you really not think I could answer that question? Do you really not think I could answer that question?
I hope you can. I'm curious.
Like, I think that like corporations are so powerful in today's politics and in today's media and in today's society that certain left-wing ideas can be dangerous and can cause damage. And I think the military-industrial complex is so powerful that like, and the surveillance state is so powerful that you can take those left-wing positions of fuck the military-industrial complex, fuck the wars in the Middle East, fuck big government surveillance, which is also, by the way, is also a small government position. I'll give the libertarians credit for that. But all of those things, like, yeah, those are dangerous positions, right? So, are you saying that Black Lives Matter is not a left-wing position?
No, that is.
So it is, but that's also dangerous to be a part, like, right?
I don't think it is. I honestly think a lot of this stuff.
It's never dangerous.
Right-wing people right-wing culture is the rebellion of today's society. To be left-leaning in whatever you're talking about, fucking like put Black Lives Matter on a beer can, most people are going to be like, they're social activism. Like liberals are the majority of people.
I think in media representation, that's true, but like,
and that's what BLM is. The reason media, social.
The reason that I call myself a liberal is that media fucking shit doesn't matter to me. Like, I'm not even talking about it. I don't give a fuck what Budweiser says.
Because you're socially Republican, but financially liberal.
Yeah.
Which is, something I've never heard in my entire
Well, no,
life.
you have. No, that wasn't even a few decades. Even a few decades ago, that wasn't even that uncommon. There used to be liberal Republicans. There used to be conservative Democrats. But because the fucking media went and fucked everything up, everybody has to be on extreme sides now that you can't be.
Well, who controls the media?
Jews.
And what are Jews generally politically?
Jews are capitalists. They're arch capitalists. They are a part of the banks. They're a part of the cabal that controls.
So Jews are the original, like, socially liberal, but financially conservative.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like a lot of Jews are behind modern day conservatism. And see, that's really what I'm getting at.
What do we do about that?
Like what?
What about the Jew issue thing?
I think at least admit certain things are bullshit, like the whole Israel and Palestine thing. Like, you know,
So
we can
has
admit
that
that's
escalated
bullshit.
recently? I've seen on campus people are like talking about it, but what's been happening recently?
I don't know if it's escalated, but recently something that's happened in like the last few years is Netanyahu, the guy who was president, gave power over to, his name's Naftali Bennett. I don't know his exact name, but he's even more fascist, and he like disrespects Palestinians even more. Like there is, I don't know if it's escalated, but it's like gradually gotten worse for the Palestinian people. From what I've heard.
What are your stance? So the liberal stance for is to support the Palestinians.
Well, I mean,
even though the Jews are like one of the biggest suffering minorities in history, right?
That's an interesting like
let's talk about Jews.
That's the I don't know that. But like that's sort of, it's an interesting issue because it's one where there's division in America. Like there are like lots of liberals in America that are otherwise liberal that strongly support Israel. And then there's also left-wing people in America that support Palestine. So that's like one of the things that's like there's like a lot of like disagreement with liberals on, even like, you know, like because like in sort of like the objective way of looking at it, like just from both sides, is like after the Holocaust and then the travesties that they experienced in the 20th century, like they wanted to create a Jewish state.
So you believe in the Holocaust? You think the Holocaust happened?
Dude, what is this fucking America fucking pants shit, dude?
Right. Anything that didn't happen outside from California to New York is irrelevant. I don't believe in it.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
That's just the pants
speaking.
It don't
affect me. It don't affect me none. Yeah. But like anyway, no, I don't support the state of Israel. I think it's bullshit. I think that they kill far more Palestinians than Palestinians kill them. They have the backing of our government. They have the backing of weapons and a more advanced military. And it's horseshit. It's horseshit that we allow them to repress the Palestinian people like we do.
Do you think the fact that they're reptilian makes them more?
Yes. I mean, it's not just them that's reptilian. There's probably a higher concentration of them that are reptilian, but reptilians exist in every race.
You think reptilians exist in every race? So
yeah.
What defines the reptilian? It's just like the character?
No, I think it's its own race, but they camouflage themselves as different races. You know? Like, I feel like the reptilians have a way to camouflage themselves and blend in. And then sometimes they blend in as Jews. Sometimes they blend in as white people. Probably most often as white people because it's more often white people in control. So I feel like most reptilians are probably white. But there's probably a few Spanish ones and black ones and Jew ones.
I feel like Latinos, they cannot be reptilian. They have too much soul.
Well, the chupacabra, right?
Well, I don't think there's a person. That's just
that's a different thing. That's a different thing.
Just a thing that exists.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the 3 dangerous things about liberalism.
Well,
and you said Black Lives Matter.
No, I didn't say like what. Well, why does like I'm not talking. Well, why am I liberal? Because I want to be dangerous. I don't accept the premise that that's what we should be. I'm a liberal because I think the policies work. The policies work.
No,
the left has always been anti-war. The left has always been anti-war. It's always been anti-surveillance. There's been plenty of times in our country's history where it's dangerous to be left-wing. Like,
I think majority of the history, but like right now, like liberals are just like these people who are both like we need to save the world and like they're very empathetic, but at the same time, like. I think majority of the culture backs what they're supporting. Like like change is the status quo in some ways.
Yeah.
Like that is what is normal is change right now.
But
if you oppose change, like that is against the status quo, which is kind of a weird thing to say. But
yeah, and I guess like in that sense, like, hey, have you ever heard of like that being the true definition of conservatism is just being sort of like in favor of tradition? Of saying that like and being anti-revolution, you know, like whenever revolutions happen, there's like a lot of bloodshed. It's not good, you know. It might not be even a good idea that we're trying out. Yeah, but overall, like it's kind of good to keep the systems that we have in place and like respect and honor them in favor of tradition.
Especially if they've shown to work over the years, and America has exploded to be this world superpower. You're like, it works to some degree.
So in terms of like being like a traditional and a conservative, like I feel like they look up to the past as like a paradigm of like like, you know, what we should be, and like, oh man, like, so I want to throw a question back to you, since you're like Mr. Pro-America conservative. How do you reconcile our nation's past and how this nation started, like being pro-slavery, only allowing white males to
Listen
vote?
to Morgan Freeman,
know?
bro. Morgan Freeman is like, we gotta stop talking about black and white. I'm a human being, except I have a lot of speckles on my face. I'm still a human being. But he's just like, I don't. I think there's a line in the middle. Honestly, I'm not this hardcore guy. I'll play the hardcore guy today, but like it's in
Yeah.
between somewhere. Regardless, I do think it is important to like just recognize people, as MLK says. It's so ironic that he was like, "Don't judge me for the color of my skin, but the content of my character," and now like we're constantly obsessed with the color of people's skins.
No, like that. He's somebody who's been like kind of like whitewashed a lot. Like there's a lot of like radical parts of his message that don't make it out. He wasn't like this content of character, color of skin guy. That's the one quote that they play. But if you actually look at what he said overall, well, like, no, he was like a left wing, like kind of pro.
From my understanding, like MLK was the more like good cop. I'll assimilate a little bit, and Malcolm X is more like the bad cop. Like I'm more like black rights, like fight the man, whatever.
And Malcolm X was also more genuine, you know, like I feel like just as a person, like
he probably has right to be angry, but MLK is like, we can't be angry. We gotta like be smart about this and approach it more.
And also, it's like I think that's like being Islam, like that whole lifestyle is much more conservative. Like you have to like commit yourself to like no drinking, no pork. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you pray 5 times a day. It's not something that you kind of do casually. And King, I feel like just at least in terms of his personal life, like he kind of like indulged a lot. Like
he was fucking white women. From what I hear.
Like he was a sexual athleticism is a term that people use.
Sexual athleticism.
Yeah.
What, so like, he's just like racking up bodies.
Dude, like,
he's like, this is a game
like,
for me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just gonna be like being a dude that has some sort of power, I guess. Yeah. Not all dudes.
Yeah, well, I mean, like,
sexual athleticism is.
It's like, I mean, we're all like that, right? Like, I mean, I'm not saying he was a terrible person, but I'm saying if we're comparing the two people, like he's still a good man. He still did a lot of good, but like I feel like I'm more Malcolm X because he was probably just as a person like a little bit more genuine, you know? Like,
yeah, but I don't know what he did, but he probably called for violence on a few occasions. Like, it's not the greatest thing to do.
Well, I mean, that's one of the interesting. So that's weird for me as a conservative that you'd say that, right? So like, how do you feel about pacifism? Like, did he call for violence, or did he recognize that violence has its place? Like, there's a difference between calling for violence and realizing that violence should be met with violence.
Yeah, no, like it's an eye for an eye situation.
Yes. Absolutely. That's what nature's like, right?
It's kind of funny. So we talked about this in our history course when in the Independence with Declaration of Independence. Yeah. Like Thomas Jefferson was like, in no case should like the people rise up against the government. This is a mutiny or tyranny or whatever. However, within his own words, he was like, given the opportunity where there's an unjust government, it is the people's position to rise up against it. So he basically had a paradox between what he said verbally and what he believed versus what he wrote in legalese. And so I feel like that paradox inherently exists within America, of where on this one side we're like, we need to be rebellious, but we also have to be this like country that withholds its values and structure.
Like, you know, and I was totally thinking about that when I was watching this Vietnam documentary. Like, do you know who Kim Burns is? By the way, shout out to Kim Burns. All right, like,
is he watching?
He's watching, dude. I think he's the one anonymous guy that was here earlier. Kim Burns, dude. Because we're doing live shit, dude. You know.
I don't know if he can hear you because again, we're probably only using the MacBook.
Every time, like, no, it's still moving, so I think it's registering, dude.
Watch this.
Dude, why are you talking? You don't need to talk in that tone anyway. When you shout like I do, so it goes to 2.
I'll go over here and I'll talk regular.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
You're not talking regular.
It's very loud in the headphones because I'm very close to the mic.
Okay.
However, you can't hear it on the.
Okay, yeah. I don't even know if it's.
These are just props, bro. These are if they're gonna be props.
I don't know, dude. Well, okay, fuck it.
I hope so. Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah, are the mics just turned down low?
No, they're not even energy saver. Oh, just fucking, is it dying? God damn it.
It's your fault. The whole
I'll plug it. No, well, that wasn't even. This is just my computer's dying.
Yeah, it's been your fault the whole fucking time, dude. Okay, I know I said 2 beers. I'm gonna do a 3rd beer. Okay, are you out of beer? Are you sure, man?
Yeah, no, I got like one more loose.
Okay. Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Oh, it's like.
Oh, dude, that's so American, bro.
How many?
Yeah, dude, that's so American, dude. That's the most American shit I've ever seen.
Miller Lite's the
Miller Lite, dude.
of America.
Not that Bud Light shit, dude. Yeah,
I figure I don't know how you feel about the being a liberal, but
no, I mean, like it's like a non-issue to me. Like I don't really care a whole lot, but at the same time, yeah, I don't. I think that's sort of what's kind of bringing the country over to the right and like a certain demographic over to the right. Like people where I'm from, like like Midwest Hicks. So like the simple folk, so to speak. I feel like they get taken advantage of by right wing demagogue fuckers, and they use issues like that to steal money and exploit them.
Well,
yeah,
I mean, so a lot of that is based on like Christian values, right?
Yeah,
and they're like Christianity, although it doesn't say explicitly, they're probably like you probably shouldn't cut your dick off and prance around like an
yeah, no, like I don't. Yeah, I mean. I don't support it. Fuck it.
No, there are. I think liberalism at some points, like the super progressive values that there seem to be pushing, like is making a lot of moderate liberals like kind of reconsider, like where do we stand? And the fact that we're already like polarized so much, like there's not really another option.
Yeah,
like,
and I also kind of like think about my purpose is like the Ben Shapiro's and Jordan Petersons kind of take advantage of the group that I'm a part of. Like the kind of like the white dude, the young white dude, maybe without like a lack of direction, who maybe made some bad choices when he was younger, who feels like kind of a loser.
So you say take advantage of.
Well, I know I'm saying I'm going to be a better voice of reason for those people where like I kind of like do want to guide people in a good direction and help people along and be a positive influence, and encourage them not to chop their dick off or like take those fucking chemicals, but also not encourage them to fucking become a crazy right-wing Republican faggot.
So I think there's a difference. Ben Shapiro, he's a little more, I don't know if you call it radicalized or like stuck in his opinions. Then Jordan Peterson,
yeah, I think he's Canadian. Jordan's Canadian, and I think that influences a lot of what he says because he's actually not like crazy liberal in economics and shit. Like he has actually a fairly liberal like Canadian opinion on some of that,
Yeah,
like,
and in addition, like he's not necessarily like struck by religion. Like I like his viewpoint where he's like, I am very interested in the stories and the importance that like Christianity specifically gives to people. But it's not like he's like, I'm not giving myself to this tribe. I am not a part of this like community, so to speak, just for the sake of like drawing a line in the sand. He seems to be a little more like just thoughtful about it.
Well, I like his take on it a lot because he values religion as a sense of direction for people of our generation. And I kind of, I guess, differ from him in that respect, just because like I do think that there should be a certain lens with which you view the world, and that's what I like about religion versus saying I'm spiritual, man. Like not that like it's my place to say what people should be and like what they should call
commitment.
Yes,
kind of your idea.
And also just like wanting to immerse yourself in a community. Like when I went to that church plant today, it's like, okay, there's a church plant and like it's a small group of people and they all really care about each other. And there's something about the minister. He's like maybe a couple years younger than me, but he has a vision and a dream. And it's like, I love that. And maybe like that's just a good thing to invest my time in. At my last church, there was a couple that was really struggling, like it was just a young couple and they dedicated their baby. And it's like, I'm glad I'm a part of a community.
They sacrificed it or
Yeah,
something?
they sacrificed it. They like took a hunting knife out.
Apocalypto style.
Yeah.
Do it down the stairs.
Yeah. No. It was just a butcher knife. No, it's like in the Bible, dude. Come on.
Yeah, like the lamb.
Dude. Throw it down the stairs. You think we're savages? No, dude.
Yeah, like the God substituted the baby for like a gay person right before they stabbed
it's like people love it when their kid's Jesus in the pageant, but when they're Isaac, dude, that's the real performance, That's the basic, the method actors of Christian plays, kids plays, is the ones that get sacrificed. Anyway, well, but like I was just saying, like I just remember there's I'm glad I'm a part of this community where I get to help this family and be a guide, help be a guidance to this family and just be a friend, but that's what I love about it. And
so here's my question. I don't know how familiar you are with other religions, but do you believe that other people in other religions believe in what they believe in as much as Christians believe?
Yeah.
And my idea is how could you say what we believe in is correct and what they believe in is wrong, and just draw that line in the sand when you realize that they're kind of equal things?
Well, I think that culture plays a big part into it, and I have to go with partly my intuition, and then it's partly my intellect, right? And I feel like when I go to my intuition, I like being a part of this community. I like going to church. I like the way it makes me feel, and I like the message. The majority of the time, I can really. And there's parts where I differ from it, right? There's parts where I differ from what the church says or what the pastor says, and I think that that's fine too because I fundamentally believe in God. I fundamentally believe in God, and I feel like that part where I differ from the pastor or the church, that's a part of how God created me. I'm not always going to be 100% locked up or in line with whatever that person says, and that's okay. That's a part of being a seeker, and I think that you can find communities to be a part of that welcome that discussion and that disputation as well. I don't always think it's mutually exclusive of oh man. And there's big questions that I don't know the answer to. In terms of those people going to hell, if someone's born over in India and Hinduism's big there and their grandma believed in Shiva and prayed to Shiva and they're going to go to hell because they were born over in India. It's I have those questions too. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe it is, but people who say there's some grains of truth in this and some grains of truth in that, and I feel like they're really wishy-washy and easily directed. When you say I am this or I am that, that's when you have a stronger sense of purpose.
Yeah, no, I do think as someone who is, I guess I would say I'm very open-minded. I like to listen to a lot of different voices. There is value in that, but at the same time, at the end of the day, I don't have an identity really. Because I often neglect committing to specific things and be all right, this is what I believe or that's what I believe. It's kind of existing in an ambiguous space.
Also, you can have your own identity and listen to other people of different opinions. Right? Because it's I'm a Christian, right? I go to church, but do you know who Christopher Hitchens is? He's a British atheist. He's probably a very prominent atheist, hated religion. I love listening to people that are different opinions. He was a very bright guy, very strong debater, and there were certain things that he was very right on, I don't agree with his points on religion and his idea of God. But for instance, he called out certain religious figures that people think are great and they're not great, Mother Teresa, for instance. It's she's not all she's cracked up to be.
Well, isn't that everyone who's ever existed? If we know enough about them, they do have their sins that were kept in the dark.
Well,
except for
I don't
Jesus, if you believe he was genuinely God.
No. I think that no one's perfect, but then there's also people being elevated and dignified to levels that they don't necessarily deserve, right? I understand, right, because that's sort of a balance. It's yeah.
I don't know. I guess I do. I sort of view things as a balance. Even the most aspirational guy like Jordan Peterson. I feel like
Got addicted to speed. Yeah.
I feel like he has like an equal and opposite like sin. Like he has something very bad in his life. And maybe it's not like material or physical, but there is like some darkness within him that like I don't idolize any human being, or at least try to avoid that.
Yeah, and like the fact that like he just did drugs, right? Like that's something he always like preached against. Like in some ways, he was a hypocrite. I don't know if that's a deep dark secret, but like just what we know about him.
You said he used to do drugs.
That kind of like like when he was famous, you know what happened to him, right? Like he got addicted to speed. Like after he became like this big figurehead for like.
I was familiar with like when he was going through a lot of physical stuff. Like whenever he eats meat, he just or like doesn't eat meat or eats carbs.
So his daughter's a goofy bitch that does like an all meat diet, and I guess he does it too. But no, he was addicted to speed. Like he was addicted to pharmaceutical and amphetamines, and like he didn't do anything for a long time. Like, and he admits to this. Like, and like he started doing speed whenever
it's like Hitler, huh?
Yeah. I mean, he
started doing like Adderall and shit because he's like, oh, it helps me with my debates, and then it got out of control and he had to take a step back.
I think so. Like, well, at least it became a bigger problem whenever he got bigger, more.
Yeah, actually, I didn't know that. I was aware that he had like some issue, but I thought it was related to like just medically they were prescribing him some shit. I didn't know he was doing it like for his own shit. So
yeah, and he had to go through like really hard withdrawals and shit. Yeah, so like that's interesting. Like I definitely think that's true. Like there's that contradiction in people and stuff, you know.
Yeah, and that's just what I'm struggling with right now. Is I'm like, I think I always struggle with this is just living in a place of ambiguity, and like on my deepest level, like I view things like we don't know. Like what does Socrates say? The one thing I know is I know nothing. Like that is at our baseline. That's really what we know is that we know nothing. And then on the next level, we have our beliefs. We're like, I guess I'll commit to this because this is a good story. This is how I view things.
Well, why should you have so much faith in your own knowledge? Like, right? Like, like every scientific principle, or I shouldn't say every scientific principle, but there is this idea in like the idea of metaphysics and stuff, and there's like so much more to reality than we could even begin to comprehend. Like my own knowledge isn't everything. I don't know everything, but I believe things have significance. You know, it's not even the stories. It's like what I feel. It's like it's not, I'm not even a Christian because of like the stories and stuff, and they make me feel good. It's like, okay, being a good person, treating people correctly, like a sense of retribution if someone does wrong.
So there's
those are deep fundamental things.
So let's say you say being a good person is being generous and kind to someone. Okay. And then another person is like being a good person is like being honest and pushing someone to their potential. Those are two very opposite things.
No, they're not. You can be all of those things.
It's basically like a masculine and a feminine force, and those are polar opposite things. And you're like, well, which one is being a good person in your eyes? They're
well, but those aren't like those are things where in situations like it's better if you're forceful and whatever, and there's other situations in life it's better if you're more forgiving and whatnot. It's like those two things aren't mutually exclusive to me.
So let's say there's a homeless person on the street. Do you give them money and help them out, and they might buy drugs with it, or they might like just need something to eat? Or do you say fuck you and like they don't have money or whatever, but maybe they're like, oh, maybe I should take responsibility and like stop begging for like I can actually do something myself. Like why I shouldn't be like trying to ask everyone and suck energy from them.
My honest answer, I don't know, man. It's like it's not my place to decide whether or not someone else should give money to a homeless person or not.
But that's how I view everything else.
I'm not the preacher, you know. I'm not the fucking imam. I'm not the fucking prophet. Like, right? Yeah. I'm just a seeker, you know. Like, yes, because sometimes I'm like the guy that.
So when you say seeker, what is it?
Like
Harry Potter?
I guess, yeah. Well, I'm just like, no, I'm just a follower. I'm just trying to find my own way, and like my like you know what I'm saying? Like I just or like through that, like through Christianity, like I'm trying to like understand more. Like I don't have the definite answer of like when you see a homeless person, like what should you do? You know, like what that made me think of is like I very rarely ever give to homeless people. But there was this one time like outside of Lucky Duck where like a guy fucking like approached me and he started asking me about his bullshit, like, oh, my grandson not eat food. It was like an old black guy. And I just rolled the window up. Like, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is like,
it's the
this
same
fucking,
shit.
like, and then he fucking, like, when I was getting out of my car, he walked over to me, right? And he's like, oh, my meal, John. I don't know. By the way, I don't even know how he knew my name. I didn't know who the fuck he knew. But then I was like, hey, I already told you no. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there it's like there's so much complexity in life, because in that situation, I'm not bad for telling that guy no. Like, hey, I already, like, it's late at night. I don't fucking know you. You're asking me for something. Yeah, you think that's appropriate? It's like, no. Like, they're like, he's in the wrong. Okay, either he's in the wrong or he's a fucking idiot. Like, if he has any ounce of intelligence, he should know that that's not okay. Just as a random stranger to like approach me.
He's desperate.
Like, I mean, no. Like, even if you're desperate. Late at night,
have some manners, even though you're about to die from hunger.
Yeah.
Have
like, no. Well, like, that's no. Like, sorry, like, this is America, dude. Like, I don't.
You got Charlie Day energy, bro. You ever heard that? You ever heard that before?
Yeah,
it's not a bad thing.
I've heard that. It's a horrible thing.
What are you talking about?
He's a fucking idiot, dude.
He's fucking awesome entertainer.
Dude, did you not think I know what an idiot is? Like, dude, that's so Charlie. What I just did, right? Boom. Yeah. It's so Charlie, dude. I can't even help it.
Just like your voice and your high speed energy.
Yeah.
Just like,
yeah, but like, she, like, no, I don't feel like that homeless guy's in the right. Like, fuck you. I told you fucking no. You're asking me again. Fuck off. Like it's late at night. Like, you're bigger. Like, I'm a fuck. Like, get the fuck away from me. Oh, you don't raise your voice at me. You don't do anything like that. Okay, fuck you.
Damn,
I don't
you
fucking know you. Like, no, I didn't know, but that's how I feel. Like, I was just saying, I already told. That's all I said. I already told you no. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I already said that. Like, I don't know why you're still talking to me about this. Like, fuck off. You know?
Yeah, I used to have a lot more sympathy for homeless people. Then I lived in the city for a few years, and at a certain point, you're just like, I can't. It's too much time out of my day to try to be respectful. Like, when they're just like constantly coming up to you, asking you, it's the same thing. Everything. Yo, we got $1. Yo, we got. I'm like, no, just. No, thank you.
And
that's
like,
all I say.
Like, and that's different from what I was saying. Like, if someone just asked me for $1, that's fine. Like, I'm not gonna be like rude or like, I'll be very sorry, man. Like, you know, yeah, be careful to be friendly to those people. And like, if I have like something like non-perishable I can give them, like, you know, sometimes I do that. Like, well, like an actual thing, like some food or some shit. Like, you know, like if I can actually be nice to them in that way, there's times where I've done that, you know, but like that's okay if you just ask me once. I understand. If you already asked me and I rolled up the fucking window, okay? I rolled up the fucking window and you're coming back over to me across the street in the fucking dark.
Yeah.
Hey, raise your fucking get the fuck, you know what I'm saying? Like, no. Like I'm not being uncompassionate. You're just a fucking asshole. You know?
No doubt about that. So what are we still at? 0? We got 0 guys watching. Stakes are high, bro. Do you want to talk? Any of these look interesting to you? Did we kind of?
Gun. I've never seen it. Rocky fucking sucks.
All right, let's talk about that. Why do you not like Rocky?
I mean, it's retarded, dude. Rocky's a fucking retard.
Like, he is literally meant to be retarded.
Yeah, he's literally a mental retard.
It does kind of upset me because he's supposed to like be very American and represent like the passion of people, but he doesn't have to be so stupid. Like, he's literally retarded.
Like, and I feel Stallone's smart. Stallone understood that there's a market for big retard movies.
But even in his other roles, he sounds stupid just by his Italian jock nature.
Exactly. But I feel like he's much smarter than like people give him credit for sometimes. I'm not saying he's dumb. I'm saying
he wrote Rocky.
Exactly. So. There's some smartness there. Like, he knew what kind of movie to make. I'm not just bashing him. Because I think we have the same exact birthday. We're both born on July 6th. What's up, Stallone?
July
also,
6th.
I think we're both left-handed. Yeah, boom. Okay. Left-handed July 6ers. So we have shit in common. But so that's why I can't. But yeah, Rocky's retarded as fuck, dude. It's always about like I'm gonna like chase this abstract dream and be a fucking idiot.
What is abstract about being the heavyweight champion of the world? That's very concrete and direct.
Because most people won't become that. And
but
honestly,
he almost did.
I think that like people should focus. Like, yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen it, to be honest with you.
Well, you said so. I agree, like that he is stupid and that was probably unnecessary.
Yeah,
he's like,
you should be growing his fugging brain, dude. You should be growing his brain.
No, he's mentally limited,
and it's like it's the same thing with so Rocky and Rudy, dude. They're both the same bullshit.
Well, Rudy
Like,
wasn't stupid.
Rudy might have been smarter, but no,
Rudy was physically retarded.
Yeah, like, well, and Rudy also, just in terms of his dream and what he accomplished, and people say that's a good thing. Like, he had real skill as a broadcaster. If he majored in media and communications, he could have been one of the best broadcasters to ever live.
Was he? Did he?
And no, he never did. He wanted what? He wanted to be a football player.
I didn't know he had skill in broadcasting.
Well, yeah. Do you not remember that part in the movie where he's like, "Hey, fucking me," like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's clearly showing a prowess for that and a love for that and a skill.
I just remember the time he saved Frodo from drowning.
And Rocky, Rocky's just an idiot who like centered his whole life around like getting in fights and like trying to be like the best champion in the world.
Because he's a fighter, bro. That's the American way. He's living.
Why can't he be a butcher, dude?
Because being a butcher is boring. You're just doing a job behind a counter. You just cut meat. You want to have some conflict. You want to have some excitement in your life. That's what Rocky was doing.
That's my problem.
And it was a dream. The American dream. Being a butcher is an occupation. It's not a dream.
Yeah, well, no, I think you could have the dream life you want that you visualize for yourself as a boxer if you continued on the same path as a butcher, right? I think people can achieve most of what they want in life in terms of like the material goods if they just restructure how they look at things a little bit, you know? So, like for instance, like when people say they want to do comedy or be good comedians, you know, like if they restructured their lives and like became good teachers, like, you know, like instead of like doing comedy, it'd be about the same amount of money, right? Well, that you would achieve as like a mid-level, like touring comedian. And I think you would get a lot of the same benefit from it. You'd get to use a lot of the same skills. Like, yeah, like Rocky, like being a butcher, like being a guy that can be on his feet a long time and like handle meat and do all that shit and like whatever, like he's good at it. Like cut it,
the same like satisfaction.
If you make the same
both the comparisons are bad. Like being a teacher and a comedian and a butcher and a boxer, they're completely different.
The same. It's the same skill set.
No, so okay, as a comedian, you get to like say crazy shit to people versus teaching children. You don't get to say anything crazy or like push the lines at all.
You never had a teacher that cracked jokes.
Like you have teachers that barely go back to the line.
Like there's teachers that have their own personality. Like to be a good teacher and to make those lessons stick, you have to be yourself. You have to be funny. Like it's a lot. You have to be charismatic.
I don't know.
Like it's a lot of those.
Like some people are inherently fucked up, and if they are themselves, like it's not going to be socially acceptable as a teacher.
Like, but like I'm saying it's true for some people. Like probably like me.
But
that's a point I've gotten to myself.
And I don't think Rocky didn't have that gene that would have allowed him to be content being a butcher. He had to pursue that crazy dream. He had to have the fucking adrenaline of being on the main stage and getting his ass beat. Like those were all elements that he needed to feel satisfaction out of life. And although it is like,
I think it's because he's such an asshole and a retard, dude. Like that's why I can't respect him. Hey, I thought like this. Like, okay, and you can say that's maybe like the more realistic boxer, but I feel like Raging Bull. Have you ever seen Raging Bull?
Yeah,
that's like a little bit better of a movie, like because that guy quotes poetry and shit. And that movie's
about
become
like a stand-up comedian at the end. And,
yeah, and
is like Robert De Niro just better actor than Sylvester?
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, though, like Rocky's probably like a little bit more realistic to the kind of character he's portraying than like Robert De Niro was to the real guy that probably lived.
You think so? You think Robert De Niro actually has mob ties? Or you think he's just like a Hollywood guy exploiting?
I think that he's somebody who's taken a lot of pictures with mob people. I think that like mob people have seen him in New York City and shit. Hey, come here, fucking boo.
I am curious how much like mobsters is mostly like you gotta live in quiet. Like when you're on the big screen or whatever, like you're being exposed. Like that's not good for business. They're criminals. No. So I feel like the Italian culture of like cinema, like exposing that lifestyle, like that's probably bad for a lot of mobsters.
No, they love those movies.
Those wops, they
like,
love.
Yeah, they fucking love. You know, they fucking love those movies. Like Marty's from that, like the fucking like New York City, where there was like a bunch of different mobsters. He's actually from that time and place.
I guess they get the notoriety on one hand, but
like and I think that they portray those people as badasses, like anti-authoritarian motherfuckers, and they tell their story like on screen of like you know, like if you watch The Godfather, for instance, right? Like you watch the second one, what do you find out about Vito Corleone? Like, oh, he's this criminal mob boss that's tracked by the FBI. But you watch the second one and it's like, oh, he's actually from fucking Sicily. His mom got murdered in front of his fucking face when he was a kid or whatever the fuck happened and he had to come to America. It actually tells the story of those people. You know, because it like really like criminality, like becoming a criminal and being an immigrant are very tied together.
But from a practical sense, let's say what was their main? What were they even selling? They were selling
It was
protection.
booze. No, it was
Booze?
booze. Yeah, like because it was during the prohibition when like those people like reigned supreme. It was booze, and then it was prostitution and gambling.
But then let's say cinema exposes a lot of these practices. People are more aware of it. You glorify certain people that were really involved with it. Like I feel like there's more cracking down by the police when they.
Well,
really,
yeah, is that because
so,
of
it's probably bad for business to have like your organization publicized in a lot of ways.
I think that like in certain cases that's probably true. Like the guy that did Goodfellas, you know Henry Hill. Do you know
Colonel
who that
Hank
is?
Hill.
And Henry Hill, he was the guy that Goodfellas is based on. Like Ray Liotta's character is a real person. And if you're interested in this topic, you should look up Henry Hill on Howard Stern as like an old man. Because like he
So
comes
this is
into
the second time you reference Howard Stern. Does he like? Does he have some good clips I need to look up?
Yeah, I fucking love Howard Stern, man. I feel like if you look up Howard Stern, you can kind of maybe see where I'm coming from.
Didn't he like change a lot of like
Who gives a
recently?
shit? I'm saying Henry Hill came into his show, okay, and it's a good fucking interview, and it talks about what you're talking about. Because like he was someone that like sold his story. Like when he went into witness protection, he snitched. He sold his story to Marty Scorsese, so he has like notoriety. But then they have fucking like mob guys that fucking call on the show and you're a fucking stool pigeon, and it's
Was
like
a stool pigeon?
that's a fucking rat, a snitch.
They call him a stool pigeon.
Yep.
I never heard that.
Yeah, because they
before.
sing.
Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Just like a mock, you know, the bird, the little book To Kill a Mockingbird. I never thought like a mockingbird is someone who just like repeats what they hear, right? And I don't know how that related to the story, but
Oh
doesn't that
fuck!
someone?
No, dude, you just made me have an epiphany, dude.
What's
Yeah,
that?
I'm gonna finish this beer. Like, wait,
I
hold on a
gotta
second.
pee too.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know if you listen to country music at all.
I like country. I do.
There's an artist, fucking Hardy, kind of new emerging artist.
Oh yeah, I'm down.
His new album is titled something Mockingbird, something something. But he basically like, yeah, a lot of what I do is just copy other people that influence me. And I never really thought about the mockingbird as a symbol of being just like something.
Yeah, did that make you like reassess Hunger Games too? Because the Mockingjay, right? Like, I feel like to really be a true revolutionary, you have to mock what all the other revolutionaries are doing, right? And we're all speaking out against the tyranny.
Yeah, it does kind of like diminish originality.
But no, I totally like. I understand where you're coming from with To Kill a Mockingbird.
Which I don't even know what the story's about. Wasn't like some girl got raped or
well,
something?
Yeah. So I'll tell you. Like, here's my thing. Okay, do you want to pee and then we'll do it on the podcast? Yeah. Let's pee. I want me and Nate to pee together, but we don't know each other that well yet. You know, peeing with another man, you don't have to be very intimate with them to do that in the beginning phases of your relationship. That's what I learned in the penitentiary. You say, John, why was you in the penitentiary? Because we have anti-natural, anti-holy drugs, laws against cocaine and other drugs that come from this earth. Hallelujah. I am insane. Insane in the membrane. I'm going to pee now too. Okay. I really do think I just cracked Kill a Mockingbird. And then since you got on that topic, I'm going to tell you my theory of Hostel too when I get back. Okay.
Okay, let's see. What are we talking about? Bud Light. Money. When did America peak? I think most people would say 1950s, you know, just after World War II, the economy was going. America kind of ran shit. They were like, all right, we got our army in Japan. We got shit figured out in Germany. We kind of got forces over there. The Soviets were flip flopping. What was that? World War One. Soviets were like on Germany's side, but then World War Two they kind of flipped and went to ours. So they're just wild cards, I guess. And I personally don't really give a fuck about this. Can we get at least the ghost guy to pretend to be watching this? The guy who's just going in and out and is probably not, it's probably just a part of YouTube's, try to motivate streamers to keep streaming even though no one's watching. Can we get something? This is fucking abysmal. YouTube is supposed to reward people for live streaming, but we've been on here for over an hour. Like, get somebody on here. Do we have to have a more intriguing title? Fucking, I'm a goddamn millennial. I'm not supposed to work for things. I'm supposed to turn on the streaming camera and you're supposed to insert fans into the algorithm so that we can be successful, because that's how it works.
You only had one person, okay? That's one more people than you thought were gonna watch it. You were like, no one's gonna watch that right away. Someone just came right the fuck on.
My theory is that YouTube will automatically insert this pretend person just so people feel like someone might be watching, and they're like,
that's okay with me, That's okay with me. Okay. Yep. Sometimes we all had an imaginary friend growing up. Sometimes it was when. So I'm gonna explain To Kill a Mockingbird. Yeah, okay. Okay. I'm not going to talk about the imaginary friend I had while I was getting raped. But listen.
Well, I want to talk about that now.
It was a mockingbird, dude. It was a mockingbird in my ear. It's like, it's okay to get raped.
And you were getting raped? Who'd you get raped by? I want to know who you got raped by.
Only mockingbirds say who raped them.
Can you don't have to say their name. I just curious what the experience was.
Okay. And it was radical. It was like a real Milo Yiannopoulos, and I don't know.
In the church?
No, I was not actually raped. I apologize. It never happened. It never happened. Never happened. Listen.
Yeah, I think that's denial speaking right now.
Oh, bro. Dude, you know why I just said I was raped, but I wasn't raped? Because we're talking about To Kill a Mockingbird, and that's what that book's about. It's about a woman that said she got raped, but didn't get raped. And I feel like I, as a man, should get more leeway to say I was raped and lie about it, because, it doesn't happen as often.
So do feminists hate that book because they're like, oh, it justifies men's idea that women are just full of shit?
Basically? I don't care, but your whole deconstruction of the title, and it's like, why is it like that? I figured out why. Okay. So To Kill a Mockingbird, what that book's about is the father, Atticus Finch, is the lawyer, and he defends Tom, whatever the fuck his name.
Atticus? What is he, from Greece?
Are you fucking kidding me, man? You're bringing up the book, dude. You don't even know the name of the main guy, Atticus.
In school, I didn't actually read the fucking books that people tell you to read.
Oh, you know what I thought? I thought that's something that you just read recently in your college class when you're like, no. I'm trying to feel like no, sorry about that.
No, I would listen to that. My girlfriend showed me this album of this country singer who had the Mockingbird, and I was like, oh, Mockingbird is just someone who repeats other people. And To Kill the Mockingbird is like to shoot the messenger, basically.
Well, so that's what I think it's about, is like this black man was falsely accused of rape because of his race, and because of people just repeating what they hear, reality was distorted and truth was distorted to kill an innocent man. And that's what we need to do.
Why was he the Mockingbird?
Is to kill because he's black and she was white.
But why does that make him a Mockingbird?
He's not the Mockingbird. The false victim is the Mockingbird, and the town are the Mockingbirds. They took her original lie and then they spread it everywhere. Right. And when we're mockingbirds and we just repeat what we hear and allow people to be put on trial and executed without being fairly represented, we're mockingbirds. Yeah, he's not the mockingbird. We are.
Religious people are mockingbirds because they just take this book and they're like, this happened, me.
Well, maybe
instead of being like, this is what I think.
In terms of what? In terms of life, bro. But what about society, right? What if your religious diction is separate from the society in which you live, and that causes you to be more moral and forthright and honest, and in favor
you're not
of
committed
justice?
to the faith.
No, I'm saying I am committed to the faith against my society. I'm
Well,
not.
that
I'm not committed to those around me. Like I'm in this world, but I'm not of it.
you're in the world, but you're not of it.
Right? Like that's sort of the whole idea behind religion. You say people who are religious are just like mocking and like repeating all the same thing, but I think that that's also true for people who don't have any direction, who are completely like mocking, like just like mocking the ways of the world, right, and repeating the ways of the world
So
because they don't have any real structure.
but they're taking a variety of influences versus a
Yeah,
Mockingbird is taking influence from one book specifically, like one source.
but like if society is that source, like against God or against whatever, right? You're still like in being influenced by forces, right? Like we're all influenced by forces. Like yes, sometimes religion is like the force that we're influenced by, but it's like that's just a part of human nature.
I guess whether we're just producing whatever random influence we have out in the world, or we're focusing on one specific influence, we are all mockingbirds regardless.
Yeah.
Do you believe that people have any originality within their souls?
I don't know. Like I guess
it's sort of the idea. I will say that it's like you have the same set of types of stories or whatever. Like every type of story has been told, but like not the specific details of each story. Like the names and faces change, so to speak.
Like I guess like I lean towards no, but I find comfort in that. I find comfort in like the fact that there's other people like me that have existed that I can like learn from. Like I'm not as original as I think I am in terms of the problems I have. A lot of other people experience it. You know, like I don't desire originality. Like when I see like
this un-American of you, bro.
when I see like a reflection of myself and other people, I feel more connected to other things, you know? Like, do you ever follow astrology like at all? I assume not, right? You're a rationalist.
Like Geminis and Pisces. You think I'm a rationalist, bro?
Yeah,
you got me fucked up. First you thought I was a stoic, and then you're like I'm a rationalist.
Well, you're a stoic person and also rationalist.
What do you mean?
Bro, like stoic, these are both good things. I don't know, like, but like I don't know.
No,
you seem like the type. If I bring up astrology, you'd be like, "Oh, fuck that." Like, can I read your birth chart?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm a Gemini. So what is this a daily thing or is this like a forever thing?
No. This is like a birth profile. Okay. Like horoscopes are the daily thing. This is like someone's personality. Because like last time we were together, Nate, you talked about depression a little bit. And this is actually something that helped me lift me out of my depression, was kind of understanding myself better, you know, like and understanding my personality a little bit better. And I think it's like have you ever like do you know who you are in the Chinese zodiac?
The boar.
Are you fucking serious, man?
You're the boar.
No, I'm the goat. The goat and the boar are natural homeboys.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
boom.
Cool.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Like, both fucking farm animals.
Well, no, they're both like strong, like herd animals. Like they're for other people around them. They're very friendly. Yeah. Well, no, not quite.
Herd animals.
Yeah, but they're for the group more than themselves. They're more like self-sacrificial. But they're two of like the most natural bros on the zodiac. Really? It is, yeah. Like yeah.
I guess both prey animals in some way.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's both basically like they value peace, kind of.
I am a bit of a pacifist, I'll say that. So I am curious about this birth chart thing.
It's gonna be so exciting, guys. Hold on a second. So you go by she, right, Nate?
She, him.
She, him? Okay.
She thing.
What's your birthday, bro?
6/1/95.
Okay. Okay. What time? Do you know what time you were born?
I think around 8 a.m., maybe 8:30.
Yeah. Do it. Do you know what city you were born in?
Tacoma. Was this like a rap name generator?
Well, like the location in which you're born is also important when it comes to astrology too.
So do you believe this?
No, No, like because I believe in God. Like in the Bible, it says like astrology shall not come before God. So I don't know if
They
it
say they mention astrology
in the Bible. Yeah, like
and not astronomy, but astrology
yeah. Well, they
specifically.
didn't even know astronomy back then. Like astronomy came later when like we actually understood like what the stars really were. Like that's the serious version of it. But
Astrology, which is
yeah,
like the primal. That looks
yeah,
like a fucking goat or whatever
yeah,
that
and
they
that
were with.
influences your behavior. That's astrology. Yeah.
Mm.
So it's like I don't believe in it in terms of like I don't read horoscopes, but I do feel like there's something about our personalities that are formed. Like you know,
Like, well, for example, I'm a Gemini, and I feel like I'm a very neurotic, semi bipolar person. But I also feel like I don't, there's a ton of different ways we can extrapolate some part of our personality from anything. Like if you mentioned the 12 different months of horoscopes, I could relate to every single one of them
yeah.
in some sort of way.
But like that's like horoscopes are very broad though. Like if you think that that's
That,
the metric with which to judge astrology, like what I'm doing right now, a birth chart is a lot more specific and extensive.
I'm sure
Like
there's an algorithm that is just like
mhm.
is told to for certain inputs is going to give you this output and is going to be something pretty general. We'll see how it goes. If it tells me like I'm going to date a whore and then become a comedian and move to Austin, I would believe it. I'm like, damn, that really knows who I am. But it's gonna be something very
Sorry,
general.
I just like formed your birth chart. I'm like I get what you're saying, man. Like I was not really listening.
You get what I'm
I
saying,
was
but
looking this. Sorry. Okay. So the sun is in Gemini. So like when it comes to someone's like astrological chart, there's their sun sign, there's their rising sign, and there's their moon sign. So if people think they're one sign, that's actually not entirely accurate. Like for instance, I'm Cancer. That's my sun sign. That's like
Mhm.
3/4 of my personality. But I'm also Pisces rising. So Cancer is like a very like laid back, like whatever kind of
So
like
what do you mean by rising
the
and daytime
so
thing?
they like the sun sign is who you really are, right? That's like the biggest part of your personality. The rising sign is kind of like what you project to other people, sort of
Mm,
like how you come off, you know?
okay.
Like
Wasn't there a third one
and
too?
then the moon sign. I forgot what the moon sign is.
Just like your shadow self, your dark side.
Yeah.
So did you get into astrology because you were like trying to hook up with some chick or something?
No,
It,
I just think it's interesting. Like I think that so there was a Chinese gal that came to stay with us and she was really into astrology.
really?
And then that was like the first time I ever heard of it. And then I don't know what it was, just like a few years ago, I just put my name in like a birth thing again and like I learned about the Chinese year of the sheep, you know? And like
Is that different from the goat?
goat and sheep, they're the same, like
Okay.
it's like the same symbol basically.
Mm.
And it's like yeah, I kind of see it. Like I looked up other celebrities born under the same star sign and we both all have like a very goat like presence, you know. And then I and there's
Michael
like
Jordan, Tom Brady,
there's I didn't know if I didn't know they were goats, huh? But
greatest
anyway,
of all time, bro.
um
Like
oh
culturally goats.
I thought you meant like they were Chinese astrological goats. I'm like I thought that's what you meant. I was
No,
like
I
they're
come
both
from a sports background. Goat is like
yeah. Uh,
some goat is a very annoying term because people there's like 25 goats in the NBA. Greatest is a superlative. There can only be one
yeah, the
greatest,
goat.
and people are like, "Oh, everybody's the fucking goat" because they are moderately good at something nowadays.
Well, I think that there can be maybe like 10 greatest of all time, right?
Well,
Like I
if
feel like
you're like
even if you're
speaking
being
of
Phil,
specific categories, but if you're like basketball player, there's only one greatest basketball player.
do you think that that's like also like the factors of time and stuff? Like I feel like you have to have like at least 10 greatest because you have to account for different times when the sport
Well,
was at different
I
levels,
think this
right?
is more popular to say there's two. There's like a emerging greatest in
No,
LeBron
yeah,
and
there's not a goat, there's a goat. Okay,
what?
there's not a hold
What are
on,
you just
hold on,
pretending to suck
hold
at
on,
cock?
hold
Guh?
on. God, okay, it's not greatest of all time, greatest of his time,
Greatest of his time.
or greatest
A
of a
goat. A
time.
goat.
Yeah, I got it.
A god.
Yeah, like you're sucking a cock.
It got. Got.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's stupid though, because you're
No, it's
just
not.
because
Because
people want one thing to look up to. That's because individuality, fucking
it's not
Jesus
stupid.
Christ,
It's not
Donald
stupid.
Trump,
Hold on. Like, do you think Donald Trump, or I'm sorry, not Donald Trump. You
same
fucking up.
thing.
No, Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth is not the greatest baseball player of all time. He lived in a
It's a
time
pioneer.
when only fucking white people played. Exactly. He was a pioneer. In his time, he was the greatest because he was a pioneer. But he's really not the greatest of all time, right? Like, probably every black baseball player that's great that's ever lived could kick his fucking ass. right? It's like
Yeah.
Michael Jordan lived in a time when like the NBA as a whole was coming out of a slump. Like there wasn't as many, like on average, the regular player wasn't as good.
Your
That's why, you know
your
what I'm
argument
saying?
is
Like,
intriguing. However, I think the mass populace typically likes just one goat. Make it very simple. Who's the best? Let's see. Make an argument. They're not like, well, here are the top 10, and here are my reasons why. They want to know who is number one, and let me know.
no, it's like who's the best of their time,
Yeah,
right?
but I'm saying like the goat is a more simplified term.
The goat, yeah. Okay, so the sun is in Gemini. So the sun sign is like the most. Okay, the urge for self-expression is strong. These natives are often just as interested in collecting information as they are in sharing it. Curious to a fault. Geminis have a finger in every pie. Solar Geminis are flexible and changeable people. Their ability to adapt quickly to new situations generally gains them plenty of friends in social contexts. Usually quite clever and witty. Geminis enjoy intellectual conversations, and they are easily bored if not sufficiently mentally stimulated. Often quite adept at fitting in with others. Geminis easily adapt moods of those around them. They are friends with people of all walks of life, and they are not easily intimidated. They have the ability to detach themselves and can make Geminis very objective and observant, but a little bit difficult to get close to. Although they often have many friends, intimacy doesn't come as easily to a solar Gemini. Okay, so that's kind of like you're a friendly person, you're a nice person, like, but like very few people are close to you, you know, which kind of like sort of aligns with what you're
I would
saying.
say I'm mostly unfriendly.
Okay, so that's so weird that you say that. It's not always easy to get to know what a Gemini feels at any given moment. They are often impressionable and scattered. There is usually a nervous air to Geminis that can make more personal characters a little uneasy. That's like, I feel like that's sort of like anxiety, like what you were talking about a second ago.
Yeah, no, I felt like that was mostly correct, especially at the beginning. I was like, damn, is this going to get onto something? And there's a few things that said it was like Jim and I have a lot of friends or something, which is not true for me. There was a few things I was like, I don't know how true those are.
Yeah, so like,
they were like, I like intellectual conversation, which I do, but personally, I more so appreciate just like people talking shit, just being silly.
So
you don't gotta go that deep.
Yeah, and this is like your sun sign, so that's like 75%. So there's other factors too. So your rising sign is also more important.
So isn't the rising sun the fucking Japanese imperialism?
So the short description, I apologize. There's a short description. I'm just going to do the short description. Okay. So that he's an opportunist. He can express himself and tends to learn quickly. He is welcoming and gentle. He likes travel and intellectual work. His weakness is he is changeable and diffuse nature. They may waste energy by taking on too many things. He lacks persistence in achieving set goals. Okay. Yeah. So this is like ascendant with Cancer. He is misunderstood and certainly unique. While he craves movement and is insatiably curious, he keeps a calm exterior, and it's not immediately obvious that he is somewhat restless. He's a bit moody and changeable. He has a tendency to talk a lot at times. At other times, he can keep to himself, a shy and somewhat withdrawn demeanor, private. But once he is comfortable, friendly, curious, very observant, a natural psychologist. That does sound like I'm sorry, like that does sort of sound.
No, that
like
was 95% me, except the part where he was like he talks a lot, which there's very few situations.
But once you're comfortable, like right now, you're comfortable with me. You're talking a lot.
I still feel you probably talk more than me.
Well, but no, you're not talking. Like I feel like you're not giving yourself.
I'm not saying anything. Maybe I'm talking, but.
Okay, no, you're just talking more than you usually do because you're comfortable with me, like that said.
Bro, I'm about to fuck you in the ass for pleasure.
Oh wow!
On this live stream, will they cancel us if they start seeing us like fuck? Will they cancel this?
So I'm sorry, I don't think so. I think
will they have like bots that are trained to render like human
cool.
ass cheeks bouncing?
No, like listen, like if we get banned, that's awesome, right? Like that just.
That's what people were saying after Gillis got canceled.
Damn. I've drank all my fucking alcohol. It's been an hour and a half, dude.
You want to wrap this thing up?
So, well, you just opened a beer up, so.
I'm not drinking regardless. I felt kind of bad. I was like, I kind of want to give it to you, but you're also about to drive.
Yeah, no, I need to go, like, and not drive with 4 beers in me. Yeah.
Do you have any words of wisdom you like to
Um,
end?
yeah, I mean, if you actually, honestly, I should probably drink your water.
I
You
can
know,
get you a water. We can
yeah,
keep going.
like just for a little while longer, for you to finish the beer.
You want sparkling or regular?
Ooh, sparkling. How many sparklings do you have left? But did I read enough of the birth profile real quick to at least convince you there might be something to it? Right? Like I'm just saying like that happens a lot. Like
Yeah, it did seem. Yeah, I think
like
if you read another one, I would probably relate to it a lot too. If you just put in random numbers.
well, no, I think that like people can be like that. People can kind of seek that out and like find patterns. But I also think that there's a certain level where they deny that too. Like I feel like that does seem a lot like you, and you're just not acknowledging it. Like,
Well, for one, somebody wrote this
mm,
and they had to consider the place of birth, what time of year this person was born,
it's a
what
generator.
what time of day. It's doing an algorithm.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
But
and
that
so
speaks to something being true versus false.
no, I think
It,
so. A human freaking wrote the algorithm, and I don't necessarily trust a
no,
human's judgment. But
the algorithm is what it is. Like if there's an algorithm, there's a natural pattern of things going on that's determining what someone's the output is. Like an algorithm speaks to consistency and truth, not some random person writing it. You know, like
well, so its output is basically like we break it on a simple level. If you are born on June, within June, this response. If you were born in September, this response. And then it's just a mix, and it has all those for like time and location, and
well,
then it
that's what
mixes them all together.
astrology is saying. There is an algorithm. Astrology is algorithmic. Like what you're just describing astrology. That doesn't necessarily debunk it, right? Like, because yeah, that's exactly what it's saying. It's like all these factors determine certain outcomes, and then a big misconception of astrology is it's like people think they're just one thing. It's like what that just described is like no, you're just like a confluence of things. It's like you're this part. This is a part of you,
Well,
maybe, but there's also this other part of you, like your demeanor, like what you give out to people. So there's your inner soul versus what you give out to people. Your inner soul is like an enterprising, deeply connective person that wants to get to know people, but your outer shell and your outer representation is a shy, calm, reserved person.
yeah,
Basically, what you're
I
saying.
mean, ultimately, I will say I don't know. So there is a possibility that astrology influences and all these different factors influence. But when I actually think about it, I'm like, it doesn't make any sense that these things.
It all goes back to the flat Earth, folks. That's what I'm saying. It's that we all think we're dying on a rock somewhere, and we're some useless little fucking offshoot of a shit planet, like poop pebble, third rock from the
You think
sun.
there's another like planet with life on it?
No,
Really?
I don't. I think that we're the most significant thing in the whole fucking universe, dude.
You
I
really
think
think
we're
that?
special. Yeah. Yeah,
No,
fuck
you
it.
don't. You're
I
being
don't. I
ironic.
don't. No, I think that one of the most significant struggles in all of human history, or one of the most significant debates or disputes, is the true nature of reality. Right? Like, were we heliocentric? Are we centered around the sun? Or is everything? Are we geocentric? Is everything centered around the Earth? So I don't know what I actually believe.
We
People.
know scientifically that we are
Sure,
heliocentric, right?
sure, sure.
So hasn't that been answered?
I don't know.
So you just don't even believe anything.
No,
Like
I
you,
wouldn't say
what
that. But
Descartes? So Descartes, he was like, I
I
think,
think therefore
therefore.
I am.
That's
Yeah.
and that's all he knows. And he's saying like he brings up a lot of illusions, like whether it's visual or auditory, whatever. Like we constantly experience a lot of illusions. Therefore, he's like, we can't trust any of our sensory inputs,
Yeah.
and therefore we are just this thinking entity in some sort of unknown space. Uh, and that's got to be a terrible place to exist, right? Just to be skeptical about every single thing in your
Well,
life.
I think that one of my traits is I try to see like positives in every kind of like scenario. So if everything we think is reality, then if we think something awesome for ourselves, that could become reality, right?
you can create anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, right? So
Ho-
if there's no concrete reality, then we have creative power over it. We can bend it.
However, if there's no concrete reality, what are the cons to that situation?
Well, I mean, like it's kind of like people say like, oh man, like we need to have a purpose. So I'm gonna like kind of like entertain like a different side here, you know, um, uh, like like nihilism, for instance, right? Like positive nihilism,
What is that's a paradox?
well, actually, like let me explain why it's not a paradox. Okay, so I heard someone explain nihilism once as like if nothing means anything, right? Then anything can mean everything.
So that just like
no, no, no. If there's no objective purpose or meaning for anything, then anything can happen, right? And you get to create your own meaning
but
because there is no objective meaning. You get to decide for yourself what that is.
but wake
You have
up.
complete ownership to it.
But everybody has experienced a moment in their life where they feel like shit and they're like, I wish I could feel better, but we don't know how to fix that problem. Like we have emotions that are compelling as humans, and we clearly don't have control over them unless our memory is lying to us and every single moment is like created on a falsified identity of the
Well,
world.
but what does that have to do with like purpose? Like you're right. I think purpose is slightly different, right? Like why are we here? Like why should I like for instance like if I
Oh,
say if I say I want to be a movie star, I want to be like the next Richard Linklater. If there's like a set structure to things, right? If it's not in my path to be the next Richard Linklater, then I'm not going to be the next Richard Linklater, right? But the whole idea of like if everything
he's a
hold
Richard
on,
Linklater.
let me fucking finish.
Linklater?
My point was okay. Like if you take the nihilist perspective, there's honestly a chance I could be the next Richard Linklater because there's no set purpose to everything and nothing I'm supposed to do or role I'm supposed to fill. I get to decide that for myself. I get to decide my purpose. I can pursue being the next Richard Linklater. Like everything's a possibility because there's not one set one.
Anything is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that is like that is the
Uh,
optimistic view within chaos. That anything
yeah.
is possible.
Exactly, right? So nihilism's not fucking like negative, you know? Like
Yeah, well, I think just inherently human beings interpret chaos as negative because over time it proves to be like destructive. Since, for example, like Christianity, people want to subscribe to that because it gives them order or control over their lives. And if we just take these random influences and become mockingbirds or whatever is happening in life, like it's just
well,
you don't have any control over it. It
I've
feels like.
I've always like considered my view like marrying those two things as being like I feel like our purpose is for God to test our nature. Like God designed us with a certain nature to like maybe sort of do a certain thing. Like this is what he wants us to do. This is what we're supposed to do. Right. And it's like, how do you deal with like the gifts I've given you and sort of what you're supposed to do? Yeah, like in combination with the adversity you face. Like that's the true test of God, you know? Like it's not to be
But
like slaves on a certain path and do a certain thing and you have to go this way. It's like we have free will and sort of our purpose is like do we do what we're supposed to do with the gifts that we're given? You
and
know, like for instance, like what we're doing right now, like you could have like stayed in the fucking Air Force and started fucking doing maintenance on drones and shit that like blow up Palestinian schools,
mm,
right? And like use that like powerful organization, everything on a negative way. But or you're doing it for a podcast. I could be doing that to be like a fucking mid-level marketing executive for a fucking food company that uses processed foods that sells it to like fucking Americans and like wrecks their diet. But I'm doing this.
you ever
You know
just
what I'm
want to
saying?
kill yourself, dude?
Do you want to kill yourself listening to me? Is that why you said that? Because
No,
I feel like I genuinely had the thought of like I would kill my fucking self if I was listening to me talk right now, dude. Like
no,
holy
no,
shit, like
no,
what a
no,
faggot, dude.
no. I think you've had interesting, entertaining points. I'm just curious, like have you ever been close to killing yourself or ever like
No,
realistically conceived?
I used to joke about that. And I take Adderall, you know, and like there's certain strains of it that like fuck with your head.
Mm.
So I feel like I've experienced suicidal thoughts as like an extension of a medication I was taking, like a
So
side effect.
so because Adderall like makes you think very logically, you're not like as emotionally in tuned. You feel more comfortable like confronting like very dark things because you're like not emotionally attached to them.
I don't know what, like, why, like, it's just like, if it, I don't feel like that's the right way from look at it from my perspective and what I experienced it as, because like it just wasn't logical. It wasn't anything about me as a person. Like, I took a medication and it fucked up like a chemical pathway in my
Isn't
brain
but
that
isn't
like
like
made that, no, but it gave me those thoughts. I looked at like the medication like side effects, and it's like, oh, I'm experiencing this, and I
uh,
connected that dot, and it's like I don't want to like connect it to like who I am emotionally as a person. It's like, no, some fucking fucked up pharmaceutical company has like a
yeah.
generic Adderall that fucked up my thoughts. So it's like, yeah, but it
Isn't
wasn't.
suicide logical in some ways?
Sure, it is. It's very logical. Like it, it saves you from like drowning the planet's resources, right? At a
Yeah.
certain point, like if I was ever in pain, like, or if I ever had a stroke and I couldn't talk the same way I do now, like if I ever was like honestly, man, like I would have a hard time like not like off. You know what I'm saying? And if I'm in pain and like I'm sick, like, yeah, I don't want to fucking like live like
I don't
long.
even think of it like that. I just think of it like we as humans can't answer the most fundamental question of our being is like what are we doing this for? And people say you do it because like you create your own purpose or whatever, or it's like a Christianity or something finds a purpose. But like essentially we don't know why we do anything on the world. And I've always found that very frustrating topic to confront. Like you ever just thinking about like what like under everything is like what is the purpose of it?
Well,
Yeah.
I think there's the purpose and there's your purpose, right? Like the purpose on a grand scale, like what's the point of all of it? We're never gonna know the answer to that. But
That's
there's
frustrating.
still no, but there's still your purpose
I know
within that.
there's your first
Yes.
and you figure it out or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is just like the depth of existentialist talk that is like not really productive, I
Yeah, I
guess.
know.
But
I'm existentialist. I think it does have a purpose. You know, I think there is a meaning behind things, and it's like maybe sometimes suicide is like significant. One thing I will say about it is like I think it's brave. It's very brave to fuck it to stay alive is like one of the most important like human things. And it's very brave to like say I'm gonna fucking
it's very like isolating. Like someone has to make that decision within themselves. No one in the material world, or very few people, are going to actually support you doing that. So it's
like
uh,
I think if you're sick and you're deteriorating,
well, that's a completely different
that's
thing
like,
from my
well,
like
it's
existentialist suicide.
it's really not like, it's really like, because it's like that's like one aspect where I honestly might, like, you know what I'm saying, like if my body was fucking like dying, like if I had cancer, like I don't know if I'm brave enough to go through that, or if I had a stroke and I'm fucking like dumb now and I can't talk like I used to talk like
Yeah.
that. I don't know, like yeah, there's certain situations where I might, like,
I do have another question. You think Jesus was a masochist?
no.
Because he was just like constantly suffering and suffering for all of humanity. But it's like, and I feel like sometimes I look at that like the idle man as being someone who suffers, and then I think about, well, like you can suffer in a lot of ways that are internal. Like if you create your own reality as being as harsh as you can and confront the most illogical like phobias that you can, like you are suffering.
Yeah.
Like is that like ideal? Or is it to be you can also be very strong and be a leader and be very ignorant to a lot of suffering. And in your reality, like things are easy, but you're really just being ignorant. And I view that as like
Well, I think that we get closer to God through suffering. Like, and that's one thing that like I experienced directly growing up in the church.
so
Of
Jesus,
like, because like people tried to heal me when I was younger, right? It's like, oh man, I'm gonna put my
they did that. They were
yeah.
like the
Oh, yeah.
pastors.
Oh yeah,
I
sure.
will heal your legs.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
That's crazy.
They're like, well, I was raised Assemblies of God, man. We're Holy Spirit fucking Christians. Like, that's what
And
it's
you
about.
every single
Not every single
sermon
Sunday,
they're
no,
bringing you to the
no.
front stage.
Not
They're
every
like,
single one.
fix this
But that
motherfucker's
was-
legs.
That was no, not every single, but there's that was always an undertone.
Yeah.
of like a lot of like my friends and stuff. Like they wanted to see me healed, and sometimes there were like charismatic evangelists that came in. I fucking pray for the boy. Like,
So they're bringing people from out of
but-
town. They're like,
but
heal this.
a lot of people will walk up to me and be like, if you ask God, he can heal you. Yes, that's a common thing that Christians like to say.
Mm.
And like,
Did you ever believe that yourself?
yes, yeah. I mean, like that's.
I imagine it makes
a,
sense that
I mean,
you.
I was a kid, man. Like, yeah, it was fucking traumatic, bro.
It was like your version of Santa Claus, and one day you'd be like, "Oh, these guys are just crazy."
Oh, God, yeah, dude, fuck it, dude. Like, yeah, no, it was like legit, like kind of fucked up. Like, yeah, when I think about it, but no, like I'm glad I went through that because, like, I realized that those people who want to see me healed, like, they don't understand the true nature of spirituality and God. Because if you actually look at the Bible and like everybody who has like a book in the Bible named after them, one thing that they all went through is just some really terrible shit. It's like terrible shit, terrible shit, terrible shit, and God's gonna get you through it. And like one thing I just really resent about Christians and like what I went through personally is Christians walking up to you and be like, yeah, God is going to prove himself by healing you and making you like everybody else. It's no, God's proving himself by working through whatever affliction I was born in, born with, and making me a better person outside of it. It's like, like if I were a fucking like not like physically afflicted, I don't think I'd be as verbal as I am,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be as creative as I am, or if I'd value literature or politics as much as I do. I'd probably be more into sports. I think that God's hand works through suffering, not the other way around.
No, that makes sense, but that means like the ultimate lesson, so to speak, or character building process is through the greatest form of suffering, which was Jesus, of somebody who was like,
yeah. And I do have that thought, man. Like, I'll just say this live on camera right now.
Live on camera.
Like live on camera. Like if I don't make it in comedy in like the next few years, like I kind of want to go to a part of the world where there's like not a lot of stuff, like not a first
world, like Thailand. Or
yeah, like no,
India.
But be a good pro, like, and actually like be around that more and be around people who are suffering and try to make the world a better place. And also just seeing how people live like outside of like our modern society and all the conveniences and luxuries we have, because I feel like the power of God's going to be more present there.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. And also, you don't have time to just sit around and be like, man, was Jesus? Do I need to suffer more? When you're just like, you're literally suffering. You're like, I'm hungry. My family needs food. Our lives suck. Like, there's plenty of things you can physically do to like improve your life. So it's very straight in front of you, instead of just being like some existentialist guy.
Yeah, like
just sitting in your apartment, just thinking about like all the ways your life sucks.
Yeah.
There's not that.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right, man. Like people are closer together if they don't have as much to like be distracted by, like, and they have to like depend on each other to like make it to live,
Yeah, which is, it's sort of a weird thing. I'm like, I felt like a lot of when I was growing up, I looked up to like people from the hood who played like sports or like got into music, and I was like, damn, they went through that struggle and that made them better at sports because they have these like harder mentalities, and I would envy them. But at the same time, I feel like they would envy me. They're like, I just wish I had like a easier life.
I've probably had that thought about my own grandparents more than like anything, like as opposed to like celebrities, because that's like older generation versus younger generation. Like my grandpa was a successful man, and his dad was just an asshole. Like, his dad just wasn't nice to him, like never complimented him, like fucking didn't do this right, didn't do that right, like all that shit. And that's standards. Just like, my grandpa was born in the 30s, and society's fathers really weren't very affectionate with their sons, and you better fucking wake up at 4 a.m. and not bitch about it, and because I didn't go through that kind of like same turmoil with my dad was nicer, it's like, I don't know if I'll ever be like a guy that runs a successful farm, because I don't have that same kind of drive. Like there's like a used to that kind of suffering and that kind of hardness,
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah. All right, man, dude. This has been a good podcast, dude. All right, man.
Cheers, dude. Do you have any words of wisdom for them?
No, I feel like we've done a lot of words. This has been a very wise podcast just in general. I feel like we've just done that. We permeated it throughout the podcast. So I feel like we should extrapolate it from what we've talked about. Like sometimes like you find meaning in things, and you can find meaning in multiple things. For me, I find meaning in church and the Bible and that sense of community, but maybe that's not for you guys. Maybe that's not for the random fucker that's out there listening. Maybe that's not for you, but find meaning in something, whether it's in a skill or a hobby. Try to connect with other people and try to learn more. Okay. No matter who you are or what you want to do, learn more, grow. understand the world from another perspective.
And from my perspective, I think just end it all. Like, people are going to tell you, like, you need to keep growing, pushing yourself, like, go further, whatever. Like, honestly, you don't have to do anything at all. And the best way to not do anything is to end your life. And I personally promote suicide. I think that it is the most righteous thing that you could do to suffer in the eyes of the Lord. That killing yourself, it says literally in the Bible, God says on page 1, if you kill yourself, you will go to heaven immediately and your life will be so much better. So that's something I want to tell the people on this comedy podcast.
Yeah, and this is something that, like, you know, it's unpopular in Christian circles, but Jesus came down in man form, right? And the second he was born, he knew he was going to die 33 years later. What's that called? That's suicide, right? He lived his entire life knowing he was going to die, and he accepted his fate and his death. And if he had conscious, like, you know, knowledge of that, that's suicide. So if you want to kill yourself, that's Christ-like.
Be Jesus, everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Or nobody. Right. That's who we're talking to.
I love you guys. Bye.
Peace.
Okay, so one of the problems is